Hey everybody, we're the Splinter Twins. I'm Mark, that's Kyle, and it's NASCAR, baby. It's time to raise hail and praise Dale in the Aetherdrift deserts.
I want to go fast.
The flavor vibes might be mixed. We're going to talk about that, but what is not mixed, some good cards out there in this set. So we picked the top 5, and we're pretty hyped about it.
Yeah, why should you watch this video? Mark and I are each going to nominate our top 5 cards, but unlike other channels, we hold each other accountable. And by hold accountable, I mean I'm going to talk crap right to Mark's face about his terrible Foundations picks at the end
They
of
were
the video.
bad.
They're not good.
I'll start off with my number 5 pick, and Kyle, do you hear? There's a shark in the water. But it don't just be any shark, matey. It'd be a pirate shark. Marauding Mako is a good card.
I don't have to look that one up. That's a good
No,
card.
this is a good card. It's an uncommon, and it's a simple 1/1, and its power is in its simplicity, right? You discard one or more cards, you pop a 1/1 counter on this. Now, there's a lot of things happening with this particular energy, right? I shouldn't say energy because that's a mechanic, but cycling, right? We're doing some of that. We're doing a lot of looting. We're doing some wheeling. You get it? It's a car set. There's a lot of stuff I could have picked for this slot, but I think the Mako goes into a lot of red decks just because, right? Like, I want to make Monument to Endurance work. That looks like so much fun, but it is a 3-mana do nothing, right? I think this Chandra Planeswalker might be pretty good, but what those cards both have in common is whatever decks they may or may not go into, the Mako is going to be front and center. Not for nothing, it's a pirate, and pirates love to be looting. That's a real thing, and I don't know if you've had the misfortune of going against a pirate deck on the ladder, but like they can kind of come and get you a little bit. So put this out there.
Yeah, and there's just red and blue are going to loot, and also cycling is back in this set. There's a lot of way to be discarding cards, and it's a nice thing that rewards you for something that you wanted to do anyway.
That's
and
the big one.
It can take just this card, it's whatever, but I also get an onboard effect, so now I'm blocking mono red better, or I'm beating on this control deck. It's the kind of effect that can it's a thing that you're doing in Magic, and it rewards you already. Pretty safe, solid pick. I don't know if it'll be meta defining, but I bet you it'll find a home. My number 5 pick is quite possibly the best Banishing Light effect I've ever seen. I can't think of a better one. It's Perilous Snell.
I was gonna say, did they
Perilous
reprint
Snare. It's 2 and a white, and then you can, when it enters, you exile non-land permanent until it leaves the battlefield. But it also has Start Your Engines, and once you get to max speed, which you can see the reminder text up on the screen right now if you need to know what max speed is, but then you can just tap it to put +1/+1 counters on target vehicles or creatures you control as a sorcery. So your Banishing Light is just sitting there giving you value. I don't know, man. Like, that seems pretty good.
This is probably a good opportunity for us just to get into Start Your Engines in general. I am not sure about it as a mechanic because it is slow as hell. Right?
Yeah,
like
but
we're talking about.
Can I just say with this one, because the audience, if you're watching this video, you can see how it works. But this comes down on turn. You play a 1-drop, a 2-drop. They play a blocker. You use this to remove your blocker. You hit them, and now you're at 2 speed already. Like, that line is very obviously what this card wants.
But okay,
you to do.
so now we're playing.
It
We're
asks
playing
nothing of you.
Yeah, it does, because you're playing a 3-mana removal spell in, I guess, your aggro deck that plays a 1 and a 2-drop that's looking to get in for damage. And now, like, 2 more turns later, we're going to get a +1/+1 counter. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm saying it has the misfortune of being in a standard where you have Into the Screen, right, which is an Oblivion Ring with Ward 2 on it. That's pretty great. And Unidentified Hover Ship, which is like, I'm an Oblivion Ring your thing, I'm a vehicle, and you're actually never going to get that guy back. I'm just going to let you manifest Dread. So it's got some steep competition. Just a little bit of a +1/+1 counter on down the line. I don't think it's going to be enough to make this
The
card.
other thing, though, dude, this does target, this for Heroic, this does target. So,
Yeah.
like, that's, it's just a lot. There's a +1/+1 synergy with green white in this set, which I'm not saying, there's some cards that do stuff with +1/+1 counters. I'm not all about that. I'm just saying a 3-mana enchantment removal that can pay you off. Also, personally near and dear to my heart, I'm thinking about my, or it's not an enchantment, it's an artifact, I apologize, but you get the point. Hard to interact with, and there's definitely a lot of artifact synergies going on.
Yeah.
I just think that this is a standard, tried and true, tested effect, and the fact that it can give you upside later feels pretty good.
That Voyage card that's looking to, has affinity for artifacts and it's going to give you the refill. And I mean, in that kind of deck, this could be the removal piece that you want to play. So I'm not saying it doesn't have a home anywhere. It's not a bad card. Maybe it really will depend on how if max speed is actually a thing you can do in standard, then this could be a very good card. If not, then it's destined for the draft shaft.
Agreed.
Well, Kyle, it's my number 4 pick, and you know what that means. I'm going to make mono green work, so help me.
Oh, no, we picked the same card. Now I know I'm wrong.
Defend the Rider. Did you pick that one?
No, I did not. You picked
no,
the mono green
you
card.
were wrong. You picked Web Strike Elite like a dumbass.
I didn't know.
Well, then you're a real dumbass for not picking. I was going back and forth between these two cards.
Let me look at
the
this
reason
card.
Why I picked
What's it
Defend
called?
the Rider.
I need to look it up just like the audience.
Defend the Rider. It's a fantastic card. 1 mana instant. Target creature gets hexproof or indestructible. Okay, so you're pretty familiar with that, like a snakeskin veil-ish kind of vibe going. But the other reason why this card is, it's not a dead card. It can just make you a 1/1. This card is the best version of this we've seen.
Wow!
Yeah. It's a good card. It's a great card.
There's so many better 1 mana green instants that can like save your creature. This isn't even the best one in standard. I don't think the pilot is relevant. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't think this card sees any play.
Can block up, surprise blocks. It's pretty good. Enduring Curiosity World, you want to prevent them from drawing a card. This is a powerful card. This can really do stuff. The versatility on this, there's been a lot of times where, maybe you play that 2-drop and it gets removed before you can untap, and this card's just kind of hanging out in your hand while you're trying to get to the next card. Like, just being able to throw down a 1/1, that's pretty damn good. I think you're really underestimating the value of power of that.
My number 4 card is, look, I got tricked last set. We're going to talk about it, about a Boros 2-mana guy, but I just feel like Kaladin Triumph Caster has to be the business. This is Boros mana for a legendary human pilot. Mounts and vehicles you control have haste, and whenever a mount enters the battlefield, it becomes saddled until end of turn, and whenever a vehicle enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. This has to be good, right? It has to be. It does everything that the previous card that we're going to talk about / shame me about doesn't do, and there are a lot of mounts that give you stupid value when you mount them in this set and in Outlaws, and just being able to not only swing as soon as you play it, but you get the saddled bonus for swinging it, and it's a 2/3 already. It has to be good. It has to be.
Does it give mounts haste or just vehicles haste?
Yeah, mounts and vehicles you control have haste.
So just imagine going, curving this into an ornery tumblewag, right? That's pretty good. Doing something dumb off the top where you plop the flagship down and you're like, get wrecked, that is cool. You got to make him stick, but there are some pretty powerful vehicles. Like this is kind of put up for shut up with wizards and vehicles. I think in this set they've put out a lot of vehicles. They've bet a lot on that card type actually doing something, and a big reason why they might be successful is this card. It was absolutely on my short list. I just didn't put it on there because I am worried that it's just a bad idea. Vehicles are just fundamentally flawed. But if anything can make them good, God, this 2-drop looks hot.
I definitely see a line where there could be, depending on the meta, vehicles, the fact that they go back to being artifacts and you're dodging sunfalls, and then you're just hitting somebody, like, okay, they're going to burn the removal on your 2-drop. They're going to, get lost on your 2-drop. All right, well, you're not going to have it for my 3 or 4 mana threat. And being able to go back to the artifact zone and not getting my ball sunfalled off feels really good. There's a reason this is number 4. I'm not the most confident as my number 1, but I just feel like this card has everything going for it.
My number 3 card is a role player, Kyle. It's not a rare. It's not a mythic. It's here to do a job. It's not Pyroclasm, though that was a role player. It just wasn't quite there. It just missed a different meta.
If that card would have been playing it ever.
Yeah, if that card would have been in Bloomburrow, people would have played it. But sad, we're playing the meta we have. Not in limited. No one would ever play that card in limited.
I'm
talking about, you know what you're doing? You're creating a diversion, Kyle, and I don't like it because my number 3 pick is Diversion Unit. This card is just doing a couple of things that are going to really do powerful stuff in standard. It's a 2-mana card, 1 in a blue, flying artifact creature, and it has that malevolent hermit text on it, which is basically...
And that card saw so much play.
Creature. Actually, Malevolent Hermit did see some play, but the reason why this card is better is because, Kyle, you forget we live in an Enduring Curiosities world now. And this goes right up into that deck. It's a 2-mana play that's going to protect you against the Sunfall. It's going to get in for damage after you play that Flash Enduring Good Boy. And it's this amazing little sweeper-proof thing. Or it's going to stop their bomb. It's going to interrupt their combo. I think this is a really powerful role player. And unlike a lot of things in this set, which I think is a problem maybe you're experiencing as well, you're looking at a lot of stuff and it's like, yeah, that card looks cool. The one you just picked, for example. But where does it... It doesn't have a home. It's got to be so good it makes its own home. That's a tall order. In this bloated standard, that's a really tall order. So I'm looking for cards that can slot into existing decks and upgrade those. And I think a Dimir Bounce, I think a Big Blue, I think there's a lot of places where they just look at this card and they go, that's absolutely the 2-drop I'm looking for.
My number 3 card is the actual mono green card that you should have picked, Mark, and that's Agnosaur Rex. It is 3 green for a dinosaur at rare.
This is a standard video? Do you think we're playing Commander?
Yeah.
Are you confused?
Oh, no. Trample. It's 5 mana. It's 5 mana for an 8/8, but that's not the point. It has Trample, but it says cycling 2 in a forest, and when you cycle this card, you get to put 2 +1/+1 creatures on a target vehicle or creature, and that creature gains Trample and indestructible into end of turn. Boy, like, this is legitimate. If they have a grip full of removal, you can use it to not only save one of your creatures, but buff them up and prevent them from being able to chump block. Or if they're out, you can just throw down this 8 power and toughness, 5 mana beater, and kill them that way. This card, like, I'm not saying mono green is gonna be tier 1, but this is the exact kind of thing. Like there was a time where a 3 mana plus like 2 +1/+1 counters that they get to keep, not till the end of turn, and it gains Trample and Indestructible, is somewhat playable. Staple that onto a finisher, this card is good.
Yeah, I think the problem is not so much that the card's not powerful. I think the card is powerful, but I think a lot of the reasons why these mono green picks that I've been making in the past are just really good bodies.
Because you pick bad ones.
No, I picked some powerful ones, but that's just not the world we live in, right? Like, Vaultborn Tyrant is seeing, like, edge case plays. I mean, go read that card. It's insane. A Tyrannex Rex, like, I just don't think we live in big green boy times. The single point removal is too good. It's too good, Kyle.
Oh,
mono green stands no chance.
If only this card helped protect against
Not enough. Not even close enough, because you're also talking about the sweepers, Kyle, are too good. The problem is not the card. The problem is the archetype. And I love, my first love is big green boys, but it's just
Write that down. Audience, please leave a comment
please
that
clip
says
it.
If you like big green boys.
Big, thick green boys. I'm just saying the Jolly Green Giant commercials, they awoken something in me. Much like my number 2 pick. But it's a thing that I just don't think works in not just modern standard, but bloated modern standard, right? Like, I feel like if you go try to put your card down that's got all these delicious values and delicious stats on it, it's not replacing itself, it's not card drawing, it's not comboing, it's just not good enough.
The problem with your mono green cards that you've been picking of late, you've been trying to get too cute with like Kona and Head Shredder. This thing is not confused about what it does. It is a beater and it protects your beaters. And it's like the thing mono green needs to be doing. And if the opponent doesn't have an answer, you win the game. Which, okay, man, like, okay, we're going to 1-for-1. All right, next threat up. And it's also very reasonably costed at 5 mana. This isn't some stupid ramp target. Like, this 5 mana play that has flexibility at 3 mana. By the way, it's also not like, get rid of the card. It replaces itself. Like, that's another thing I forgot to say. Like, when you cycle it, not only do you get that protection effect, you also get to draw a card. Like, you get the gas too. Man, like, it is singular in its purpose, but still has flexibility in that lane. I think this card is very powerful.
So I'm just thinking, like, that's true, but like, we can shuffle up and play, and you can take your mono green mid-range deck, and you can give me access to all the other mid-range decks, and I think you know how this is going to go down, right? Like, when I'm busting out my Golgari Unholy Annex, and it's just like, there's just no keeping up. If there is a chance, I think this card is good. Not for nothing, there's also a Dinosaur Lord, so we got, like, secret dinosaur support in this set.
I need this thing to be a 9/9. That really matters.
That's kind of fun. I mean,
it's
I'm saying,
cool, but...
No, not for this card, but just for dinos in general, right? Like, that's cool that we're getting this and the Lord and a lot of other dinos. Let's have fun with that. Hey, Kyle.
Hmm.
You like thighs?
Do I like thighs?
You like frog thighs?
I don't know
You
what
like
you
sexy mama frog thighs?
Oh yeah.
Ooh. This card is doing some things to people on the internet that should be kept quiet. But Saba Sunin. Ooh. Luxa embodied. Call me Luxa because I want to get in that body.
I want to be in that body.
A
So stupid.
my second love, my first love might have been mono green, but my second love was disgusting Simic value engines. And holy shit, look at this card. Oh, there's so many good words on this card.
It's too expensive.
No, it's not. 5 mana, because here's why. Look at this card and look at what it does, and just think about, you better have Sunfall immediately, because I present to you, Kyle, Innkeeper's Talent. Think about what this card and the sequence of events that are going to happen to people when you have Innkeeper's Talent in play, which, by the way, is just a cracked in half magic card. So I'm not asking you to do, like, shift through the barrel of shit cards.
I didn't think about Innkeeper's Talent with this one. That is a really good point.
So if you're not following, right, so you have to untap, but we do have Indestructible here. So you best pack the Exile. You untap, and then you go, ooh, oopsie doopsie, I'm an even number. You add the +1/+1 counter and draw 2 cards, and then combat starts up, and you go, just kidding, I'm odd. And you repeat the cycle. So if you have Innkeeper's Talent, you're attacking with the Reach, Trample, Indestructible, starting, next turn, 8/8, 9/9, whatever, and you're just going to town on people and drawing 2 cards while you're at it. This is disgusting.
And there's no profitable blocks you can make with it. And you have to chump 2. I didn't think about Innkeeper's Talent, man. That is that might be some day one build shit we got to get after.
That's my special tech. I haven't seen anybody else talk about that. I'm sure I'm not the first person to realize that, but just like the fact that you can reliably put that +1/+1 counter on it, and like I wanted to play that card anyway, is good. I'm not looking forward to the math. Like when I level 3 that Innkeeper's Talent, and I'm like, oh shit, what are we doing? Odds or evens? But man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And 5 mana. We've seen 5 mana Simic things happen. There's a cone out there. Like, we can do this. We can absolutely do this in our big green deck. And another reason why we can do this, I didn't pick it, but I came seriously close to picking Sky Serpent Seeker, sorry. Maybe some of the best Simic ramp ever printed. Like, holy shit, that card's good. Little road bump, and then on turn 4, go ahead and untap, and, I don't know, get 2 lands. Just any old 2 lands, like, off the top. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay, my number 2 pick is, I think it's actually the best card this set, but I'm gonna warn you. I took a little bit of a flyer on my number 1 pick. My number 1 pick has a higher ceiling, but my number 2 pick, you talked about having a home for a card earlier. Well, this archetype was waiting for this card to get printed, and that's Metacant Core Guidelight. It is the card that Azorius artifacts need. It is just a simple, little, tiny, insignificant white and a blue. You get a legendary artifact creature, robot, that's fun. And then its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. That's cool. Start your engines. So you have to build this thing up, but you've probably already played your Siren and you're pecking them in or whatever. But when you get max speed with this thing, whenever you cast an artifact, you can pay 1 generic mana and copy that artifact. That is, you can do some broken shit with that.
Yeah. I obviously, blue-white artifacts, the synthesizer, the Thousand Moon Smithy, that's a deck that people play. I'm a little bit, again, worried about the max speed just because it's kind of like, well, if I'm popping off on turn 4 and playing artifacts
my point is
deck,
the current Azorius artifact, build is an aggro deck. It wants to attack.
Yeah. Maybe. But if you're untapping on turn 4 and the synthesizer's popping off and the Thousand Moon Smithy is cooking, like, aren't we going to win? Or how's this guy going to help?
I think it's, a lot, I'm not talking about that. Maybe synthesizer, but, like, I'm talking about just your, like, regular old aggressive Azorius artifact deck. Like, you're just turning creatures sideways. Your Seraphs, your, your Sirens, and you're just like plugging away at things. Being able to do things like copy the snare that I talked about earlier is disgusting. Just like 4 mana, remove 2 things, get 2 more artifacts this thing's power goes up to. Like, and it actually
Get
slots
more
in
attackers. Well.
Yeah.
We love playing the mono white artifacts. You know, the aggressive mono white artifacts. That's been a lot of fun. This could, you know, we got the mana to support it, right?
It's
Throw
also
this in
like,
there.
if you go, you know, turn one, whatever the new Thraben Inspector is, I forget, but you play that thing and you're playing a Siren, or like by the time you play this on turn
Novice
3
Inspector?
or whatever, if you want to, Novice Inspector, you could have 3 artifacts just laying
Yeah.
on, and it's just a 3/3, and it's only going to get bigger. It just, and then, you know, let's say you slam down a Seraph and now you're sailing it through the air, or you're giving it lifelink, or you're giving it vigilance, just. And then you could use this to copy a Seraph. Like, you can use this to copy artifact creatures.
Oh, and then you're getting 2 triggers, so you're flying in vigilance now with your best friend New Seraph. Yeah. It's pretty good. I like the idea because I've really been thinking about that deck from a mid-range perspective, but I like the idea of just getting that aggro thing going and cooking. Like, that deck really missed Michiko's. It needed that card to kind of have this finisher, but this, with that scaling power, kind of like Michiko's, could be the new, you know, hey, it's a cheap bomb that's just going to let me come off the top rope and just, boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely see it. Plus, it's just so fun. And look, Mark, it's a cute little robot. Like, how great is that?
Robot. All right. My number 1 pick. Maybe I'm picking this card because I just love it to pieces, but I think it might be good. I'm talking Ketramos, the New Dawn. This card is pretty nasty. I really think there's going to be a lot of ways to just make this thing go absolutely nuts. Unlike my other Thick Mama friend, this guy is costed to play. 3 mana. And you're looking at some just nasty keyword abilities. I'd much rather have Vigilance, Menace and Lifelink tacked onto Indestructible because we're getting in for damage. I don't think it's very hard to get 7 cards in exile in this format. I think it's actually going to be very doable. When you start looking at things like Ashiok, right? Like, that card goes in this deck. There's a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, you just need a 5 mana Planeswalker to enable it.
That's the top end. But there's so many other things that can put things in exile. Like, there's some nasty removal.
We're talking about... I don't have it in front of me. Is it just cards in exile or cards you own in exile?
No, any cards in exile.
Okay,
so Rest
exile
in Peace
removal helps, yeah.
Right. We're talking about what's the 1 mana bop your guy for planes?
Lay down your arms?
Lay down arms, right? Boom. There's, you know, now we're putting things in exile. There's lots of ways to get in exile. We're going to have to build around it. This is a build around card. So when we talk about, like, it's got to be so good that you can do things, but, like, it's not just a 4 mana, holy shit, this card is indestructible, powerful lifelink, let me erase whatever. It's also card draw, just card draw for the thing that you were already doing, putting stuff in exile. I think there's a deck out there just waiting to get built around this guy.
I don't know. I think you're way overselling how hard it is to get 7 cards in exile, and there is a significant number of games where this card just sits on the battlefield, never attacks, never blocks, and you just get your face beat apart.
You're getting card draw, though. It's doing something, even when it's not attacking.
Yeah, I just think there's more relevant things you can be playing to the board. I haven't looked at literally every exile enabler, but, like, even, like, the things that you mentioned with, like, lay down arms and stuff, exiling things one at a time, it would take forever. Like, at that point, what are you still alive? Are they why and how are either of you still alive at that point?
Rest in Peace is in standard, Kyle.
Yeah, that's true. Rest in Peace.
Everything is in the graveyard.
But then you have to play Rest in Peace, and if you draw that card,
there's a lot of Reanimator shenanigans out there. You know, I mean, not saying main board, but like,
sure.
It's like, it's also just like, what percentage of Reanimator decks?
Actually,
you know what card?
Ghost
Vacuum turned off. Ghost Vacuum is hot, right? Like, that card is actually just kind of good with all the ETB shenanigans. Like, no one's playing bad creatures, so throw that in there as a 1-drop. Like, I'm just saying, the more you start to think about it, the more you're like, oh, that exiles, and that exiles, and that exiles, and not just once, but twice. And, you know, Ghost Vacuum can do it once per turn. Like, I don't know, man. It's pretty good.
And you can just keep exiling, like, lands or spells or whatever they mill into their graveyard.
And then they finally find the Oblivion Ring or Sunfall or whatever, get rid of this guy, and you just laugh as you crack open the Ghost Vacuum and let them all out.
You know, Mark, I don't know what my problem is, but there's something about 2 Mountain that just makes me want to pick you as the best card in the set. And I can't help it, but I've picked Boommobile as my number 1 card.
It's a pretty good card.
I don't know if this card is going to be good. I really don't. But when I read the line, when this vehicle enters, add 4 mana of any color, of any one color, add this, or spend this only to activate abilities, And then you can exhaust X2 red. This vehicle deals X damage to any target creature, and you can put a +1/+1 on it and exhaust. Theoretically, that means you can only activate this ability once. Here's the thing, though. You can blink this. And if you're blinking this, then you just get that again. You just get the 4 mana again, and you can't exhaust it again because it's a new object. So every time you blink this, it comes back, it gives you mana, you can exhaust it again. And I just feel like that is so ridiculous that there's gotta be some way to break that. I don't know about like older formats with like Yorion, but I know I am gonna be brewing my ass off to figure out the best possible way to ruin this for everybody.
Well, the fact that, this is really good at multiples is kind of nasty, right? Like, you play this thing, and then, I don't know, you have some way to blink it or whatever, and then it's just like, you can just, if you have another one coming down, you can just sink that 4 mana directly into the X cost. Like, it's pretty good. It's very expensive to do that, though. So I'm not sure, but we know for a fact that, like, one of the ways things can go sideways, right? We talk about multiple turns, takes things sideways, and then cheating the mana system, right? Anytime you're making free mana, it's like, uh-oh, red alert, something bad could really happen here in terms of the combo shenanigans, because it's just like you said, 4 mana for these activated abilities, right? It could go sideways. I think this is a powerful card just on its own, but I need to know like what the tech is that's going to like unlock this. But the other thing is, this card is going to be in standard for 3 years. So it seems like there is going to be a way to break it in the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not the most confident in it. I just think it has the highest upside. And I read through all of them, and I'm like, what card could be... Like, this is the thing I think is so meta-defining that it could be just, like, abused to ridiculousness. And I fully expect that there's a path line where, next set we're reviewing it, and it just doesn't do anything. And maybe it never does anything. But like you said, there's just so much potential for this to go wrong with the free mana. And I think I'm more interested in the conversation about it and the brewing of it than being like, oh yeah, well this is just a really efficient removal spell that I know is going to see play. So that's why I just wanted to talk about it and let everybody know.
Or like, a burner.
Hey, Boommobile might be a problem.
It's a good thing for a burn deck potentially. You throw that in there.
Any target.
Big
red, let's go.
Yeah. If you got ideas for how to blink this, break this Boommobile, put it down in the comments. As promised, it is now time for the judgment. So...
Wait, Mark, I must do the magic spell. Okay, now we're tiny little heads next to our names. This is the chart. You can see it goes from meta-defining all the way down to LOL bad. I should rename that Mark tier.
Sir, I'm climbing.
Is there anything that you wish... I'm fine with all my stuff, my multiple meta-defining cards. Is there anything that you would like to move around?
It's not that I like. It's that it must be. We have disrespected the Harvester of Misery. It's got a glow up. It's in multiple decks now. A lot of this stuff comes from, obviously, our experience on the ladder, but also MTG Melee. So just so you know what I'm doing here, I go to that website, I look at the tournament results, like the decks, search a card, see what it's doing. And just looking at the decks from, January, Harvester of Misery's been in quite a few. I need to pull up the actual number. I didn't write that one down, but like dozens of decks are playing this card because it's really good, turns out.
So are we talking
I would
like
make a case.
See some play?
I would say see some play. This card has
right,
actually popped off a little bit.
Yeah, and, like we said, some cards are late bloomers. That's fine. I'm fine with that, so we'll move it up. Anything else?
I won't make a case for Head Shredder. Obviously, there was that Maze in combo deck that did a thing, but that's all it ever did. So day is coming, but it is not
some
yet
people
here.
have played Sunspire Links, but it's not getting out of the basement yet either.
My number 5 pick was Tiny Bones Bobble Perkler.
Oh! I forgot you picked that one. LOL bad. I
wouldn't
shit
start
talk
laughing,
that
Kyle.
card so much too.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, it's just what the discard deck needs.
I mean, Kyle, I'm gonna let you say Swiftblade Vindicator, but like,
yeah, shut up. It's coming.
A 0 is a 0 here.
You missed way more.
Not sure. You can't miss harder than 0 because that's how many decks this thing slotted into for Tiny Bones. It's not there. I was really surprised actually looking through the top decks on MTG Melee. Foundations really did not have an impact on Standard, which it's a core set fundamentally, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But just going through like the top ranked decks, and you start thinking about like, well, what's in Dimir Bounce? What's in, Gruul, ley line, what's in pick your deck, your Atraxa, whatever, and the foundations, not so much. So a lot of these are going to be misses, and I think we're kind of doomed to always miss on some of these. And Tiny Bones Burglar certainly was not helping myself.
My number 5 was the Little Bunny Hinterland Sanctifier. I don't really know what to do with this card. I think it's either, I'll let Mark decide, edge case or LOL bad. I think it did the thing. Like it's a critical enabler for life gain decks, but those decks aren't particularly good right now. But they're latterable. People play them. We've played it a lot. Like it's a card in those decks, but that's not like a tournament archetype or anything like that. So it's a card I see cast on the ladder a lot, which is more than I can say about a lot of my LOL bad picks, but I definitely don't think it's like meta defining or good in multiple decks or anything like that. So
no,
I'll let Mark's criticism.
Edge case at best. It sees no tournament play.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem. You'll see it played. It has a home, right? It has a deck. Deck's just not very good. So I like, it's kind of that in that traditional life gain C tier place where it usually is. You'll see it a lot in the arena, but not much else besides that. So the Little Bunny is not quite doing its hoppity hops just yet. Similar to the Bunny, Dropkick Bomber. Man, this card. Why can't Goblins be good?
That card rocks. It is people
good,
don't understand. Go watch our Goblins deck. I beat the shit out of people with Goblins all the time. When I want a ladder, I'm like, I'm about to smoke some fools. That's Goblin deck I made is good.
Yeah, no, and this card is a big reason why. It's a finisher, it's a lord, it does everything, and it's very aggressively costed at 3 mana. I'd say same thing for edge cases. Like, if you're playing Goblins, you're playing this card, but Goblins isn't a real deck. You can't really.
That's because people don't respect the Goblins.
Type of Goblins, yeah. I mean, to be fair, you just can't. So it's hard to get one of these kind of decks, these kindred decks, to pop off in standards.
Look,
and Goblins.
I'm just saying, like, what are we talking about here in this grading criteria? Is it the ladder? Is it best of 3 tournament results? It's kind of a mix of everything. I'm just saying, probably this last season, the best ladder deck we built as far as percentages, and like, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of people in best of 1. Goblins was probably the best deck. So I'm just saying, you saw that coming, and I smoked people. I can't remember. I think I played I played dozens and dozens and dozens of games with like a 65% win. I was in the like high 60s for a while. The card is legitimate. I'm fine with this as, you could put it wherever you want. I'm just saying you predicted that card was good. Mark, why does Sunfall have to exist?
Kyle, I don't know, but Day of Judgment, still a hell of a card. Still sees a lot of play.
I know. I'd go with, we both picked this card. It was my number 4. It was your number 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd go with see some play.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think without Sunfall, it would be obvious, good in multiple decks, even potentially meta-defining. But as long as Sunfall is there as that like big brother, it's just kind of limited to a 2 of and very controlling decks, and it's just not gonna be the meta-defining card, the meta-defining sweeper. It's the same problem as Final Showdown, but to a lesser extent, because
much lesser extent.
Final Showdown is still down there in the basement. It'll come, but as long as Sunfall exists, I think it's going to keep Day of Judgment down.
So just to give you some ideas from January, we're looking at 97 Day of Judgment decks that included Day of Judgment, compared to 395 Sunfall. So it's not like totally out of proportion, right? And like we predicted, it's a lot of decks, they play both, right? It's not either there, it's some combination of both. It's just that, that sweeper control deck, the Azorius big guy, it's just not really the thing right now.
My gut, though, tells me, like, when you're playing your mid-range deck and you see white mana across table, are you playing against Day of Judgment or are you playing against Sunfall?
Yeah.
Like,
you're
that's the
worried about
meta-defining sort of vibes check.
Yeah. It's a well-represented deck. You see it quite a bit in different archetypes and stuff like that. It has lots of decks that it can slide into. It's a really good card, kind of to the shock of and surprise of no one. It's a good card. My number 3 is the Abyssal Harvester, a demon. This deck, I would say probably very rarely is played, the Abyssal Harvester, and really only because of Unholy Annex being a demon, is that its effect is powerful, but, I think the thing that harms it really is it's got to die this turn, Yeah. And it's both graveyards, which is really helpful, but the fact that it's limited to that just really makes this card hard to pull off. Again, some Unholy Annex decks will play it. A lot of demons in Aetherdrift, so we'll see if a demon kindred deck can come together. But right now, Abyssal Harvester is just not there.
Are you saying edge case or LOL bad?
I'd say edge case because people
Okay,
do play it.
I would say LOL bad.
Yeah, we can put it LOL bad
I
because
don't
it's
think
gonna
that
have its
card
time.
is like a thing.
Yeah, we can put an LOL bad for now, but it will have its time.
Swiftblade Vindicator, LOL bad. Here's the thing, though. I was just talking to myself about this earlier today. I just need to prove it to people. I need to make a goddamn Swiftblade Vindicator deck and beat the shit out of people. Because when people see Sheltered by Ghosts on this thing, they're going to learn to put some respect on his mouth, on his name. This is ridiculous. This is so bad, Mark.
Hey, guess what,
Zero
Kyle?
play. Zero play.
You know what kills a Swiftblade Vindicator?
Is it Sheltered by Ghosts?
Tiny Bones Bobble Burglar, you piece of shit.
It's bad.
It's a very good fencing ace, and the good news is we got in a time machine, and it's 2005, so this card's amazing. It's not. It never is gonna be, but it's cool.
I just really love Boros aggro, if you can't tell,
I
but not.
know.
Yeah, but yeah, no. I still
think
think. How is Boros Auras like a tier 1 deck,
Yeah.
and this card isn't good?
But I think it
Stupid
shows you sort
mice.
of. But it's a really interesting observation about Magic, right? Because it's like we went from like vanilla creatures to French vanilla creatures, right? Like you can't play a vanilla creature. It's remarkable. There's actually 5 vanilla creatures in this set. Like it's literally Mark Rosewater remarked upon it because it's so rare. And now I think this card is showing how French vanilla creatures are actually kind of not playable, right? Like a couple
Unless
of keywords.
it's like Sire of 7 Deaths.
Yeah, I mean, like, give them 7, maybe we're talking. But, like, just in general, reasonably priced, reasonably expected keywords, even a couple of really good ones, 3 good ones on a card, does not make it playable on its own, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a game
But,
shifter
like,
for people who've
I
been playing
just-
Magic for a long time.
Boros Auras, Mark. It's a tier 1 deck. How is this not?
Because
The whole point of
everything
this card
in
is
that
to
deck,
suit it up. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but
everything
everything
has
in that deck
dice
does
triggers,
more.
or haste triggers, or like fucking Emberheart Challenger is haste, prowess, and it gets you card value if you target
Mouse
it.
is doing damage to your face, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the problem. You know,
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
right. It's
you got
just
to be more than
outshined by other things in
more
the slot,
than
and it's
French
harder
vanilla.
to cast. Just yeah, big miss on my part. Do you have any left, Mark? Oh, you did. You're doing the
Time stop.
I forgot about that. It's so bad. You deserve this for both the last time you did that and this time. That card sucks so bad, and I told you to your face it was bad,
Yeah.
and you're like,
No.
no, Carl, it ends the turn. I know what the card does, Mark. It's
It counter
unplayable.
spells
LOL
too.
bad.
It's not unplayable. I'm gonna make Big Blue happen. Just you wait.
Okay.
Big Blue
I'll
will
beat
happen.
you with my Swiftblade Vindicator deck.
Probably not, because there's like 15 unsummons in the format, so I'll win that one. But not against any other things. I think Time Stop. You know, it's a cool card. It's probably time has passed in terms of its playability. Maybe we could get frisky and put this in the Big Blue deck just for fun, but I don't think this is ever going to be particularly powerful. You know, it is in some ways a complex card because it does a lot of stuff to the stack and whatnot, but like it is what it is. It's you don't get a turn, and that's for 6 mana. It's just not powerful enough in this standard. I don't think that's going to change.
My number 1 card, Llanowar Elves. Bam, 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 bam.
Good card.
It's good in multiple decks. That's what I'm saying.
I would say, yeah.
That card.
I would say it's good in multiple decks.
How could I say something so controversial yet so brave? The card's really good, and that's the kind of cards we're looking at in Foundations. But I think honestly, the only thing holding this card back is green is just not in a super great place, not super well represented, other than like some Overlord decks that are doing Overlord stuff to ramp and using their multicolor lands for attraction.
Yeah, but
They're
it's
not really
green with
interested-
friends.
Yeah, they're
You
not
know?
really
It's
interested in
Golgari.
like.
It's
Yeah, exactly.
ramp.
It's
I
not
mean,
like,
ramp,
oh,
it's
turn
domain.
2, I'm going to ramp out a 3-drop and beat you to death with it. But it's still a really powerful effect to have a 1-mana dork. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised to see Llanowar Elves landing in the very high tier of the list because it's just a really, really good card.
Yeah, it's one of the most played Foundations cards. The tournament results, it's in like 300. So you know it's up in that Sunfall range. It is maybe maybe the most played Foundations card. I don't think we missed on this set. I don't think there's a meta defining card out there in terms of like, oops, we missed it. Hit us up in the comments if we're just completely throwing shade on some card out there that's just wrecking shop, but like all in all, core set. So I think that it kind of lived up to that in terms of its power level. We'll see. This is what it's supposed to do, and in a lot of ways, it delivered a lot of the staples. I was going through the Foundation stuff, and I'm like, was Snakeskin Veil in Foundations or some other set? Was Negate in this set or that set? Like you start thinking, and that's the point of a core set. You just sort of forget.
Hope you guys like this video. Let us know what you think about our top 5 picks for Aetherdrift, or if you disagree vehemently.
What are you
with
calling
any
it?
Of these picks. Aetherdrift?
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 Are you an Aether or are you an Ether guy?
I think it's Ether. I think it's Ether.
I think it's Mario Kart. How do you feel
It's
about
not
this set?
Aether.
No one's listening anymore. Everyone clicked off the show. What do you think?
Oh, I don't like
Do you
it.
hate
I
it?
don't like the racer thing
What-
at all.
It's so fucking dumb.
I don't like
It's
it.
like, why are we doing meme sets?
And like,
you know?
so if you wanted to do like a weird plane where their whole thing was racing, but like the thing that fucking absolutely ruins this for me is they're doing like a tour through multiple planes in the Omen
Yeah.
paths, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't like it.
It's
Like,
so weird.
It's just
like,
so it's noise. It's like Amonkhet and Kaladesh, and it's just noise. And
which like we talked about this. Take
like we're
us
doing
back
universe.
to
It's almost like
Amonkhet.
it's like universe beyond in its own inside the Magic set. It's like not everything has to be a goddamn Avengers in-game crossover. Just build a world and make that world cool, and we'll like it. Just stop. Like
What's
everything's
really
just like
frustrating
everything's just member berries out the ass.
is like we know this is possible. Duskmorn, right? Yeah, there's a little bit of Planeswalker team up, but like cool new set, Bloomborough, cool new set, and then you start like, oh shit, we're putting cowboy hats on people again, but this time the cowboy hat's a race car, and they're all gonna get in the General Lee and do donuts or whatever. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And it just hurts so much because half of Magic is gonna be Garfield the cat or whatever, and this is what's left. No, come on. Foundations was underpowered, a core set, so no shade there, but a beautiful love letter to Magic. And like all these cards and Shivan Dragons and Shara Angels, and I'm loving it. And now I gotta look at fucking blue turtle shells, and I'm just mad about it. It's almost like they're like trying to fluff Nintendo, being like, come on.
Yeah.
There's a guy that looks like Mario hanging off the side of a car. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't know. Like,
and that's sad because I think the designers did I think we picked 10 cards that have really cool designs, and I bet the gameplay is going to be fun, and I hope the limited environment is really cool. But the overall direction for this set and a lot of the previous sets have just been hard misses.
But I do ultimately feel kind of like the same way I do with Murders at Karlov Manor. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Karlov Manor. I didn't say Markov Manor. Or Thunder Junction, or this one. It's a miss on the flavor, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, it almost reminds me of the Ghostbuster stuff in Stranger Things. Like, it's fine.
You mean
like, I'll get over it. It's fine. It's dumb.
I'm
it's
not gonna
ugly,
like
whatever.
quit Magic forever.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's
I'm like,
not even it's opportunity cost. It's like,
that's
hey
the
man,
big
if
one.
if you want a cool idea for a set, like I don't know, man, I'll come work for you for like a week and like bang out some cool ideas.
Well,
can
they
drink
got
some booze. Like
they got
I know
the
you
ideas.
have them. You have incredibly talented people who are much more talented than me. Just do that and stop worrying about the crossover potential for nostalgia and selling boxes. Just make something cool and people will like it.
Yeah, and that's key. It's just one of those things.
Look
where
at
it's like, it's
look at
gonna be
things
fun.
like Ravnica. Look at things like Innistrad. They were new, and Innistrad was brand new. Nobody had ever heard of it before. 15 years ago, and now it's culturally beloved. There's nothing stopping institutionally from that happening again.
If you do it wrong, Innistrad's a meme set, right? Like, what if Mary Shelley the set? What if Gothic Horror the set, right? And it's not that. It's world. It's got its own character, right? And it's not filled with like weird bullshit and like a million, it has substance to it, right? It's like, what is Thunder Junction? Literally a open void of nothingness and cowboy hats, right? Like it's almost like a joke on itself. Same thing with this. It's like, we're doing wacky racers, man. Like, this is happening.
Go
and it's
Speed
just like,
Racer.
if you
Go
want to do a
Speed
racing
Racer.
set, we could have a racing plane. It's like got some Mad Max weird shit going on, and like they sacrifice the losing racers, and like you can start doing that. You just can't do this. You just can't put Chandra on a motorcycle and be like, please buy
Dude,
it.
she's doing the slide from the anime that you like. Don't you like it? Don't you remember?
Yeah, that part kind of drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'll be good. We'll see what it is, and then ultimately, we'll be playing with Final Fantasy here in just like a few months. So I don't know. It is
Anyway,
what it is.
let us know what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you listen to all of this rant. Anyway, we will see you guys in the next video where we're going to be playing with some new cards, hopefully.
Yeah.
Or I might make you guys watch a Demir Homunculus deck. Don't you threaten me with a good time. I'll do it.